Welcome to Embrace Your Inner Boldness, the podcast dedicated to empowering you to live confidently, embracing all parts of who you truly are. I'm Melissa Henning-Frank, and I'm the founder, success coach, and consultant of Becoming Bold, LLC, and you can count on me to be your guide on this incredible journey of self-discovery and transformation. Let's get right to it. Hello and welcome to Embrace Your Inner Boldness, the show where we confront the things we don't talk about, unlock confidence, and step into bold leadership from the inside out. Today's episode is all about a truth too many leaders ignore. You cannot maximize the potential of your team until you understand how you lead. What if I told you that your team's performance problems aren't about laziness, it's not about lack of skill, it's not about resistance to change, but about a handful of subtle leadership habits that silently sabotage success? They're not loud, they're not toxic, but they quietly chip away at trust, morale, and momentum until one day everything feels off and no one can quite name why. Well, today we're naming it. If you lead a team in corporate, manufacturing, the military, or a mission-driven space, this episode is your mirror. And I'm going to show you how to spot the silent saboteurs and what bold leadership looks like instead. Let's dive in. Most people think that leadership is about managing others, but real leadership is about self-awareness in action. So if you've never paused to ask yourself, how do I handle stress or conflict? What's my communication style under pressure? Where do I thrive? And where do I unintentionally block my team's progress? Then chances are you're leading from default, not from design. And this is where tools like the MBTI, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, come in. As a certified MBTI practitioner, I've worked with dozens of teams across industries, including HR departments, IT departments, medical teams, manufacturing teams, to decode personality differences and help leaders understand their strengths and their blind spots. This is so important because when a leader understands their own personality type and they understand those of their team, communication gets smoother, conflict becomes productive instead of personal, and collaboration goes next level. This is the message you need to hear. Ineffective teams don't just underperform, they cost you in morale, retention, productivity, and even your reputation as a leader. You're probably having conversations about the metrics around these things. And here's the kicker. Most leadership breakdowns don't happen because of one major mistake. They happen because of a series of small, consistent missteps that add up over time. So let's talk about where leaders go wrong in the day-to-day. Letting vague expectations slide. Avoiding necessary conversations to keep the peace. Assuming that people should just know instead of clarifying or asking for understanding. Letting one or two dominant voices steer the team. Skipping follow-up because you're too busy. Canceling meetings without an explanation. Celebrating results without addressing the process. Waiting until there's a crisis to address team dynamics. Not knowing how to tailor your leadership style to different personalities. Ignoring how your own energy and tone sets the temperature of the room. Leading from stress, urgency, or fear, and not even realizing it. None of these are dramatic, but if they're repeated over days, weeks, and months, they create an environment where trust erodes, resentment builds, and performance plummets. That's why I'm so passionate about my team effectiveness workshops. In these workshops, we don't just talk about goals and strategy, we talk about the undercurrents, the things that we're not talking about, the patterns, the behaviors that become culture. Because when a team gets honest about what's really going on, everything changes for the better. We walk through a 4-step process that gets it all out on the table. First, we expose the elephants, those unspoken issues that are holding your team back. Then we prioritize what actually matters, not just what's loud and in your face. Then we assign ownership so that everyone has skin in the game. And there's also a follow-up in 3 months and 6 months and 9 months because accountability is not a one-time event. And the results of these workshops are clarity, connection, ownership. It's the kind of team that wants to show up and knows how to win together. Each person leaves with a solid understanding of how the overall team dynamics and personality impacts them and how their strengths and weaker areas impact the team. They also leave feeling lighter, feeling heard, less tense, and more optimistic. Multiple times people have commented at the end of my workshops that they feel as though they just worked through some kind of big stuff in therapy. The follow-up is super important. Holding each person accountable to do what they said they were going to do will ensure the team doesn't slip back into old habits and unhealthy patterns. You might be asking yourself, what can I do right now, though? So if you're leading a team and you want to unlock their full potential, start by challenging what you think you know. Too many leaders misread what's really going on. They assume. They might think, my team's just not motivated, when in reality, they're probably unclear on what success looks like or tired of chasing moving targets. You might assume that they don't care as much as you do, but in reality, they do care. They might not feel heard or valued, or they might not feel like it's safe to speak up. You might assume that they just need more training, when in reality, training will not fix a communication breakdown or a lack of trust. You might assume that they can't handle feedback, when in reality, they've likely had feedback delivered poorly and without follow-through. You might assume that there's just too much personality clash on the team, when in reality, personality clashes are often a sign of misunderstood wiring, not bad intent. And that's where tools like the MBTI come in. So what can you do instead? Here's some quick tips. The first one is to know your type. So if you've never taken the MBTI with a certified coach, make sure you do it. It's not just a fun personality quiz. It's a mirror that really digs in and brings out the self-awareness that you need in order to effectively lead your team. Next is ask better questions. Don't ask what's wrong with them, but ask what do they need that I'm not providing. The ownership goes to you first. You're the leader. Next, create feedback loops. Make regular space for honest, safe team conversations, not just project updates. Regular space means it eventually becomes part of the day-to-day and your team is comfortable being open with you. It's open feedback on the spot, positive or constructive, you to them and them to you. And then get outside support, whether it's one-on-one coaching or bringing in a facilitated team session. Bold leaders ask for help. And that's exactly what we do in my team workshop experiences, custom designed to get below the surface and rebuild trust, alignment, and ownership from the inside out. And listen, I know that being a leader is tough. You're not just juggling projects or metrics, you're holding space for people with emotions, ideas, needs, and lives beyond the job. You're expected to be decisive but empathetic, strategic but approachable, and sometimes it can feel like it's all on you. But here's the truth. It's okay. It's more than okay to ask for help. In fact, it's bold to ask for help. It's smart. And it's how great leaders become exceptional ones. So taking the time now to pause, reflect, and get support might feel like it's one more thing on your plate, but it's actually the thing that will make everything else easier. And you don't have to overhaul your leadership overnight. It can be small shifts, one conversation, one tool, one brave step at a time, and all of these things create massive change. Your team does not need you to be perfect. They need you to be present, they need you to be curious, and they need you to be courageous enough to grow. You're doing such good work, and you don't have to carry it all alone. And that's why I do what I do, to walk alongside leaders like you who are ready to lead with more clarity, confidence, and boldness. So let's build something better together. And remember, maximizing your team's potential isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the most aligned. When you lead from clarity and courage, your team will follow. Thanks for listening. If this episode sparked something for you, DM me on Instagram or connect on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear what resonated. And if you're ready to step into bolder, more effective leadership, let's talk. Your team deserves a leader who's bold enough to do the inner work, and that starts with you. Until next time, please be kind to your mind. Thanks so much for joining me on this episode of Embrace Your Inner Boldness. I hope you found inspiration and actionable tips to help you live more confidently. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss out on the latest insights and empowering stories. Please take a moment to also leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and be able to continue bringing you more content that uplifts and motivates. Empowering yourself and/or your team starts with embracing your inner boldness. When we stop playing small, we open the door to limitless potential. Remember, the only limit to your greatness is the one you set for yourself. Stay bold, stay fearless, and let's make this journey unforgettable.